Hello guys, Almatraz here, just coming at you with the third part of our nodeJS development series for Steambots. So, as I said in the last video, we're going to actually be starting to set up a website now. So, obviously this will give you all the possibilities that you'll ever want, because then we can tie in the Steam development with a website, which obviously can reach a lot of people. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to import some modules here at the top. So these are going to be new modules that we're going to need for this one, and these are basically all going to be related to the website that we're going to be building. So if you're not planning to make a website, just a bot, then you can feel free to skip this, but it might be nice if you keep it. So I have actually got a list here to copy and paste. The first one is HTTP and Express. So basically HTTP and Express will allow us to basically set up the web server. Then what we're going to do is we're going to be using a thing called Handlebars, which is a templating engine. So the templating engine basically allows you to inject dynamic content into web pages, as opposed to static web pages which never change. You have to go into the files and change them. We can dynamically insert content using Express Handlebars. So next what we have is we have Passport and Passport Steam, and so Passport allows you to authenticate users, which we're going to need to do if you want a Steam login on your site. And finally, we have two more, which is Cookie Parser and Session. So basically, Cookie Parser allows us to access cookies of the user in order to have a session so that we actually remember which user is which. So you're going to want to go to your command line and to navigate to whatever directory you have whatever directory you have this file in, and you're going to want to install the node modules like I showed you, and I'll be back whenever I install them. Okay then guys, so once you have those packages installed, if you don't know how to install them, you can check back in the other videos I showed you how to. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to comment out all of the bot file, or all of the bot stuff. So in this video, this is purely going to be a website kind of video, and so I'm just going to put all that down there so we can actually get on with making the actual website, and then we'll start to include the bot as well. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pass in these two lines. You can go copy and paste them. This is basically just the setup for Express and for HTTP, so we can get our server, okay? So basically, first of all, what we're going to want to do is set up some sort of Steam login. So this is basically why we have Passport and Passport-Steam. So basically these are going to allow us to easily add a Steam login to the website without having to worry about doing it ourselves. So I basically just have these two. I'm going to be doing quite a bit of copy and pasting, but that's fine, because this is really, a lot of this is setup stuff, and then I can really get into the explanations for some of the harder stuff. But this is all just setup. This is all just kind of, you'll be copying and pasting this every time. So when we serialize a user into the session, then we're going to call this function, and that's basically going to be the user in the session. So then we can access that from the request object that they whenever they request a page, then we can access this object, which is obviously what we're going to want to do for the likes of dynamic content. So I also have a console.log here. You don't need that, but then whenever I demonstrate it in a little bit of someone logging in, I will let you see what the session actually looks like, what the user object looks like. So next, I have some more Passport setup stuff, which is going to go here. So what I've set up this right now is passport.use new Steam strategy. So basically what this does is, as you can see here, this done null profile thing again, you don't need to worry too much about how this actually works, but all you really need to know is that you change this and the API key. So what I'm going to do for in here is, inside of config, we can add an API key option, and then all we got to do for this is config.api key. So that's us basically set up for that. For now, we're going to be running on localhost on port 3000. You can run it on port 80 if you want. You can run it on any port. You're only testing it on your localhost anyway. So return URL is where you're going to return to. So this is always going to be /auth Steam return, and the realm localhost, that's just the name of your website if you're doing this on a website, and the API key is obviously needed to connect to Steam. So next what we're going to do is we're going to set up some more app stuff. So this is all being copied and pasted again, and I will try my best to explain anything that's complicated. So inside of here we're basically setting up handlebars, right? So the extension name will always be .hbs. That's the handlebars extension. This basically sets Express to use HBS handlebars. So there's EJS if you want to check that out. You might like that better. Handlebars just happens to be the one that I use. So I would recommend partials dir. You'll see what this means. I would recommend putting in this partials directory. And what this is going to do is this would allow us to, for example, if we have a nav bar, we could use the nav bar across the entire website. And we could use the nav bar across the entire website, and we wouldn't have to type out the code again. We could just have one partial for that, and then that would just be constant across the whole site. So that's very useful for having the same view, but like it's repeated across your whole site on different pages. Then we have helpers. So for example, I took one helper for this example from Skin Surveys. So for example, bonus price function coin price, we return the coin price multiplied by 0.95. So basically they get a discount off skins. And if we want to really easily work this out, which I'll show you how to later, we could do this. But you know, for example, if I just wanted to return like get hey, I don't know. Yeah. Then we could have just like a function which would return the word hey. And then we could use this like almost like in our HTML. It's going to be in HBS, but we use this in our HTML so we can like access these functions directly like from your HTML. You can access these functions. So that's where you basically declare these functions. Well, just whenever I talk about helpers, this is basically what I'm talking about. You can add them in here, functions in an object. Then this basically just sets the view engine, as I say, for handlebars as well. Okay then guys, so now we're actually just going to do some passport setup things. So I have this copied and pasted, and we're just going to put it in. So app.use cookie parser, this will basically mean that the Express app will use cookie parser then. And then for down here, app.use session. So this will basically allow us to store the user's session. So the key, session ID, yes. So for secret, you can just put in your name or something like that. Anything that you want as the secret. This is the secret for the cookie storage. Then for resave true, save and initialize true, and then cookie max age. So this is in milliseconds. This will basically decide when the user needs to re-log on again, when the cookie expires. And passport.initialize, passport.session. So apart from that, you may want to add in this as well, app.use/public, and this will basically just allow you to have a public directory where you can serve static files as well, such as images, style sheets, stuff like that. So now we're finally ready to actually get on and make the server. So but first of all, what we can do is we can just specify a root directory. So app.get/, which is going to be the root. And so if I just comment out this, we can actually use a method called res.end, and then we can put in what we want to end it with. So if we do res.end, it works. Then this will basically return whenever anyone tries to get the root directory, it will return it works to them, to their browser. Okay, so a final thing that we need to put at the bottom here is the port for the server to listen on. So we use server.listen. And then we just pass in the port. So as I say, I'm going to be using port 3000 right now. So, right, so we're ready. The node index. And this should be listening now. So if I go to my web browser, localhost on port 3000, and as you can see, it says it works. So we're not doing too well so far, basically. That's all that we actually have right now. So basically, one more thing before we actually get into doing something that's actually cool. We're going to put in these few lines here. So basically what this does is this handles auth/Steam for you to authenticate your users. So basically this will handle both auth, Steam, and for return value as well. So this will basically redirect them and authenticate them into the session on success, and this will also redirect them to Steam whenever they use /auth/Steam. You don't need to understand this regex at all. Just copy paste this in. If you wanted, like, say, a failure page to /failure, then you could do like that, and then you could do like /success in here, but you're probably just going to want to redirect them to the root directory. Yeah, you're going to want to redirect them then probably to root whenever they successfully log in or fail to log in. So at this point, I'm just going to in fact, no. We're going to continue on. So at this point, what you're going to want to do is, as you can see, we set up here, if I can remember, did we? Directory. I don't think we need to anyway. So what you're going to want to do in here is create a directory called views. And so inside views is going to be where all your basically HTML files are. They're HBS files, but they're basically HTML basically. So what we're going to want to do is inside of views, we're going to create, just for example, a page called main. So main.hbs. And let's see, that will be enough for now. You can create another one in here because remember I said we had the partials, so you may as well create that there now. So basically what I'm actually going to do right now is I'm just going to import Bootstrap and things like that into the folder so it actually looks like not painful to look at in this tutorial, and so I'll be back in 2 minutes. Okay then guys, so I got Bootstrap and stuff imported just so that'll actually look a little bit nicer. So we have res.end, it works. We're just going to take that away and we're going to uncomment this. So basically what's going to happen in here is this is going to render the HTML or HBS file. Well, it does have to be an HBS, which is essentially HTML, but HBS file. It will render main file from the views directory. So we're in the views directory, and there is a file HBS called main, and so it's going to automatically render this when we hit the root directory. So if you save that and you have main and you have content in your main file, so as you can see, I've just set up like a simple nav bar up at the top here. Inside of here, once you hit the root directory then, we're going to be taken to the main page. Okay, so your question now might be, how do you get someone to log in through Steam? Well, at this point, it's very simple. I've just got this. I'm just going to take this and I'm going to put it into, we can have this in here, the class ML auto or something. And then we can just have like an image in here of that, and then in fact you're going to want to put a link in here. So the href of this link is going to be /auth/Steam, and as you can see we've specified what to do whenever we hit this through this. So that's basically going to authenticate them through Passport. So /auth/Steam. So now we're basically just going to test this on our site. So as you can see, there's a login up here. This should, yeah, it takes us to here. Then whenever we go back, and as you can see, we're now technically logged in. We haven't specified to remove this or anything. So as I say, I wanted to show you what the object looked like. Remember whenever I said up here, whenever we console.log this, I just wanted to show you what the object looked like, because these are all the things that you actually have available to you from your HTML. So your HTML, you know, you can actually access all these things. So you can access the user Steam ID, you can access their persona name. I'm just looking at useful things here. So basically you're always going to use their Steam ID, you're always going to use their persona name, you're always going to use their avatar. And to be honest with you, that's really all you're really going to be using. I suppose you could use the profile URL as well, just to get to their profile. And I never even noticed that. I was just setting the /profile/Steam ID, but anyway, you can access all these properties inside of HTML. So what we're going to do in here is, instead of just rendering main straight up, this is to access it in here. So we're going to check if there's a request.user, and so if there's a request.user, then we can render main, except we can pass in a user and the user is going to be rect.user. So basically, anything that we pass into this object whenever we're rendering something, we can access, as I said, directly from our files. So basically what this means is we can access this object now once we specify this. Now, if there is no user, then there's no need to have that user object in there. So there will just be no user there. Okay, sorry guys, I forgot about actually one thing. We need to actually specify how our user logs out as well. So this is basically just going to be the code for this. As I say, you can redirect to a separate page once someone logs out if you want. You would just pass in the directory in there, the path in there, and so this is going to be request.logout. Then it's going to be the function in here that you're just going to call, and then you're just going to redirect them. So that's pretty simple there. We're just going to save that file. We're going to come back over here. So inside of here, basically what we can now do is we can check if there's a user. So we can do double curly braces and do hash if. So this is basically just going to act the exact same as a JavaScript if statement, except you're using it inside of Handlebars, which to those of you who have only used HTML before, this is going to be a really cool concept, because I know that I was like really excited whenever I first saw this. So we can say like if user slash if is how we end the if statement. And so in here we can decide what happens if there's a user. So we can display logout, and then we can also have like an A in here, href equals, and then this is just going to be slash logout like we specified there. And so what we can do is inside of here, obviously, as you know, if statements have else as well. So we can pass in an else, there's no hash or slash with that one, and then we can just pass in this that we specified here, which is going to be the login. So that basically just means if there's no user, we can allow them to log in. If there is, we can allow them to log out. Okay, so now as you can see, if we are not logged in, we have that button up there, and we can now sign in. And so if we sign in, as you can see, it says log out up here now, and we can click log out, it logs us out, and we get the button again, and we can then sign in. So as you can see, there'll be a user object passed to us in here every single time. So that basically means that we can use this information now. So very quickly, I'm going to show you how to use this information in here, so you can then go off and experiment some more on your own after this video. So very quickly, if I just create a container down here, and a row, come on, very quickly. I don't like to go too much into setup things in this, just because I don't want to waste too much time that's not really related to development itself. So down here then we can just have like a title that just says your information. So what we're going to do is, so if there's a user, this is just for the purposes of this. If there's a user, we're going to show all the information in here about them. And then if there's no user, we're just going to show login to see your info. Okay, so inside of here then, we can pass, because we have access to this user object, that basically means that we can obviously specify every single property in here. So if I just do, so for example, let's do your Steam ID. And so their Steam ID, you can specify inside of here the different properties that you want. So user.steamid, then you can say, well, let's actually just like, let's just break it, and then your name. And so this property is called user.personaName, and we're gonna break again. And then what else can we use? Yes, so at the top we could just have their avatar. So we can, I'll show you another example of how this can be powerful and cool. Image source equals, and then you can do user.avatar. And then obviously, yeah, it's always better if you just put their, no, it doesn't matter actually. So there could be that, and then you could use any of these. You could just even use like your real name. So I'm just like your real name. And then that would just be I think it's called real name. Yeah, it is. User.realName. So what happens now then if I restart the server? Yeah, you should be using nodemon, by the way. So if I restart the server, your information, log in to see your info. So if I log in right now, and we come back to here, as you can see, my avatar is here. My Steam 64 is this. This is my persona name, sorry, and then my real name is just set as web dev. So I'm sure that you can imagine how powerful this is. Obviously up here, an ideal situation would just be to have the avatar and the name up at the top here, and then just like an arrow down and a log out like I have on Skin Surveys. But yeah, this is basically being like basic of web development and how you can access user information inside of here. So now that you actually understand how to identify users and to use their information inside of a web page, you can go off and do some experiments on your own, and hopefully some of you can see how powerful this can be if this sort of concept is new to you. And this should be it actually for the third video. I'll see you in the fourth video then. I'm not quite sure what we're going to go over in that one, but I'll work that out. Probably more web development. So anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video, and like, comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching.